Hello and welcome to this backwards compatible comics review / conversation. The idea is that we're going to go through a little bit about Batman 52 in terms of review, but I really just want to pick up a couple of points about this issue and its relationship to the previous series and the new series, and tie that all together. So, for those who don't know, this is created with a different creation team than usual. This is the last issue of the Batman 52, but the rest of it has all been created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. I'll say mostly because they've been filling artists and things. This issue number 52 though is created by James Tynion IV. He's the writer, with Riley Rossmo doing pencils and most of the inks, Brian Levels doing additional inks, Ivan Palaska and Jordan Boyd do the colours. Steve Wands is the letterer. So now the covers are quite cool, and that's where Capullo does lend his hand a little bit as well. But the main thing about this is when a lot of people heard that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were leaving Batman, it showed up in quite a lot of comments. Quite a few people were disappointed. They have done an amazing job on Batman, but they've told the story. Now the great thing about Batman is you can go back home, you can start again, and you can rebuild this character, or you can continue from where they've left off. He's that sort of character where he's kind of like an always a never present, and that's great. So what Tynion has done in this one is he's gone back through Bruce's life. I'll say Bruce because it's not just Batman, there's also Bruce. So as you can see there, this is just post his parents' death, and it builds all the way up to more about the present day. Now, again, what it just shows is the fact that there's so much scope there's so much depth to his story. The fact that we can live this with this man through his pain and still come through, and that's great. But I really want to talk about though is Riley Rossmo. Now, Riley Rossmo's art in this is great. I first experienced his art through the Rasputin series he did with Image, and I loved it, and I think it's absolutely great. And this is one of those things where his artistic style is so great. It's very, I don't know how to explain it, but I think that picture there is probably my favourite page of the year so far. Just with the cityscape to Batman to then the change of Batman into Funstorm just looks absolutely immense. You've got a bit of a caricature in most of the characters. They're not completely anatomically correct, but they looked amazingly well drawn. But also the great thing I love about Rossmo's art is the camera angles. So when you look at him, you're not always going flush straight on. You've got high angles, low angles, looking at things in different ways. It's great as well with the books, and I think this book really does show up. So when you're showing the journal, I mean by showing the book, but what this issue really shows is how talented he is. So that brings you on to the next point. Now, obviously with Capullo, he didn't draw every issue of Batman. There were other people jumping in, like Jock and people, I think Raphael Albuquerque as well, if I remember rightly. But again, I think as long as there's a continual visual style on his book, it's great. I'm not one for mixed artists on a book. I don't mind if they're doing, I think, like the Wonder Woman, which is current tales, old tales, two different artists doing that seems great. But I really, I think with this book it needs to have, at least through the issues, have that one continuous look, and that's something that I think that this really does do well. And even though there is slightly different in the inking, and obviously with the colours there are two colorists as well, but I think they make it work by having the different timelines, and that's something that again I think this book does brilliantly with the timelines. It's not going to be. It's not the best of this series, of this run, but it's certainly not the worst. It's a really good story, and for a one shot, I can't recommend it enough. Really, I think it's one of the funniest one shots I've read this week, definitely, but definitely one of the funniest ones I've read in quite a while. And again, the story is pretty epic, so definitely worth reading. And again, hopefully the future's bright for Batman. I really can't see it dropping down. Hopefully it will continue to build and go even better. I hope you've liked the idea about having conversations. We're going to try to do those a little bit differently. Have a review sometimes and have conversations others. Obviously it's only a one-way conversation because I'm talking to myself, but please don't hesitate to leave comments below. Do take care, thank you very much, and goodbye.